the work that you have already done. So, and then for the fourth part, you can do each of these parts together, like at the same time, until March, until April, if you want to, or if you think it will be better after April, after the event. I think it's something we can discuss now.
Buffer should be done within 2 weeks or within the end of April, something like that. It seems fair enough to me.
Yeah, the only thing is that, as you were saying before, we have Catholic Easter and Orthodox Easter, which is added to think about.
So we should, in my opinion, we should recommend. So I think everyone can complete it in 2 weeks, matching the requirements of the Easter holidays. I don't know. It's just
some of us might get started before the Easter holidays if it's done, but if this carries over because of the extended Easter into the first week of May, I don't think that's a problem either. So it seems to me that I agree with your suggestion, but it seems to me it could get started.
You want more flexibility on the date, okay?
That's all.
Yeah, I also think if it's done in May, it's not a problem. What we need to have ready, the events, we have all the financial documents, and you do the local part in May, there is no problem, but then we have to have all the rest ready. So then we can send the final report.
The international event, we can plan to have a space during the international event for financial record or to sales document and that.
Yeah, when we will organize, when we will go through all the things on the event, since it will be the last one, for sure we will have to have separate from this one. So we have, a meeting focused only on that, but for the last one, we can do that for sure. Okay. So just to have a summary of what we have said.
It's also for the online part. Yeah, thank you.
It might be that we tend to believe that Euroscepticism is definitely a negative fact. Maybe it's not necessarily like that. So maybe it's just being critical towards something, and being critical is not like 100% being negative.
Great opinion, because it's very important, to think critically. I come from a field that I do promote critical thinking all the time, especially having a media background and promoting media literacy all the time, that thinking in a critical way is very important, even for issues like this one. So thank you for your opinion. Anyone else? Or I can continue. Okay, so when we talk about Euroscepticism, meaning, I will start with the meaning of skepticism. The word skepticism that has diffused from its reference to the classical skeptics to mean an attitude of doubt or a disposition of disbelief, which is very important to know what is like skepticism in the beginning. But Euroscepticism refers to skepticism about Europe or European integration. Even according to the Oxford Dictionary, the term surfaced in the print in The Economist in 1992 to describe the soaring of German public opinion and European integration after Germany was told to adjust its security rules on beer, in this case, to come from the internal market, which is very interesting to know how it started, the Euroscepticism. But as I told you, the term expresses a doubt or disbelief in Europe and European integration in general. The incidence and the character of Euroscepticism varies across Europe, yet it casually appears to be patterned at the same time. But we find that Euroscepticism, in fact, has changed in tandem with the policies supported by the EU, like economic losers and distrusting citizens, one and the same? But the short answer is not quite. National identity in this case affects perceptions of economic lows or vice versa. Like, so there might be two distinct paths of Euroscepticism, one rooted in cultural threat and the one in perceived economic lows. We were talking about even the economic lows from the Italy perspective, which is very important in this case. And like, we have these two factors here that you were arguing before. The national one, the economic one, which are both very important in this case. And we can feel this. We can see that these are the reasons of two countries, the Netherlands, Italy, in this case, defined from the participants that we have here. And institutional distrust motivates also Euroscepticism. While the direct effect of institutional trust, since I was talking also about the institutional trust, runs through EU institutions, distrust of EU and national institutions tends to go together. And since most citizens do have strong views on Europe, populists can project discontent about domestic elites or institutions in Europe. So, like the populist rhetoric, can feed a downward spiral of discontent and framing specific criticism, and in terms of general system breakdown, like theory, disarming citizens' capacity to differentiate and reflect critically, which were also what we were mentioning before, reflecting critically. But also what is very important to emphasize is to know the main reasons for Euroscepticism that include beliefs that integrations undermines national sovereignty and the nation state, which is the first one. The EU is elitist and lacks demographic legitimacy and transparency. And the EU is too bureaucratic and wasteful. What are like the main reason why they say about the Euroscepticism? Like, it encourages high levels of immigration. It is neoliberal like organizations serving the big businesses allied at the expense of the working class, that EU is responsible for austerity and the EU is responsible for driving privatization. But what is very important also to talk here is the emergence of Eurosceptic parties, for the reasons that we were mentioning. Like, broadly speaking, Eurosceptic political parties can be classified as hard Eurosceptics, those that are express complete opposition to European integration and advocate withdrawal from the EU, and soft Eurosceptics that are like conditionally in favor of European integration but qualify such support as along political, ideological, ethnic or geographic lines. So these are like the main concepts of Eurosceptics, the soft ones and the hard ones. But we have also the third way. Have you ever heard of the third way?
Besides the fascists?
Hmm?
The third way fascism, right? Are we
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about that?
Like in politics, like,
Yeah.
which is like a proposed alternative in this case.
Yeah.
It is like between two models that we can say, like, namely left-wing and right-wing political groups. Like, starting from the end of the 20th century, it acquired more specific meaning when British, like, sociologists, I know you heard of it, Anthony Giddens, used it to describe an alternative to neoliberalism and democracy in the era of globalization. Like, the term third way might be applied to refer a new and distinctive policy program to a new political economy, to a new conception of social justice, and by many of its critics, to a center-left capitulation to neoliberal organizations. I will go now to anti-European narratives, which is very important and is one of the main reasons why we are here today. What do you know about anti-European narratives? Or how do you define anti-European narratives? How would you define? Anyone who wants to take the floor to say a thing about this issue? Or no one? Because I wanted to do it like what?
I don't know if
Integrate.
there's someone from maybe the Zoom.
Okay.
I don't know if
I
they
also
want to talk.
can hear.
Yeah.
Possible.
I don't know if you can hear us. Can they hear us?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Okay. If anyone wants to say something about anti-European narratives, can say something.
Of our event and active part of our the whole this activity, and also Gideon, Evelyn, and the participants, Elian also, for everyone for being part of it and for giving the right inputs and being proactive in these 1.5 or 2 days activity. So thank you everybody. And now the best part is we have to eat. And we can go, we have also, after this, even though the event is finished, we have free time and we can go and visit some sites of Peja. Not much, but that's what we have. Okay, so thank you everyone.
Thank you.
We are a public institution, it's a cultural institution, but we also like to call ourselves as a civic space because we have different programs regarding youth and culture. We develop projects that are based in artistic and cultural fields, but also we provide our premises for use of cultural programs. One other aspect of our program as a cultural and youth center is that we work in EU programs and EU projects. We've been involved in recent years in EU for Citizens programs and Creative Europe. Recently, for example, today we just finished our international event which were held in our city in Peja. The project is called Achieve. But we are also engaged as a cultural youth center in different EU projects, Project Valid, also Project Star, and back in 2000.